People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. As you lot know, Fridays equals Q&A day. It's a chance to give back to you lot. It's a chance to, answer your questions. I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to do this week in, week out forever. It's going to change in the near to distant future. But as usual, thank you lot for your questions. And as usual as well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whoever you are, wherever you are. Hope you and your family and loved ones are safe. So thank you for your questions. I gave you a 5 p.m. deadline yesterday. I'm not going to name the individual, but just before I started this, I saw someone comment, and again, I don't want to be harsh. Like, I could very much answer this question, not to sound obnoxious, but deadline day. It's not transfer market. Deadlines are there for a reason, and sometimes I let it slide, but then I realise, if you don't set boundaries, it's not going to get done. So yeah, as usual. To be fair, it's not a recent thing. It keeps happening, but yeah, man, it is what it is. Moving on with this though, and starting off with the questions asked via Twitter to myself, Igals asked, do you think the Arsenal board should start diversifying... apologies. Do you think the Arsenal board should start looking to diversify their members, maybe either a female or some younger people, in addition to some ethnic minorities as part of the job? Well, of course, I would like boardrooms to reflect Arsenal, Arsenal to reflect the fan base, or football to reflect the fan base, because obviously the fans are... As you go up the levels of, I don't want to say it, but importance for a number of words, it does become less and less. Now, in an ideal world, I want everybody. I don't want... How do I put this? I don't want inclusion for the sake of inclusion, because me I don't like the whole BAME and people of colour term. I'm black in it. Shout to every other ethnic minority, but my thing is black. As much as I think there's a need for diversity in a lot of industries, and even industries I'm in, I would like to obviously be given a chance, but at the same time, you don't want to be there. It can be condescending being in places just because of your colour of your skin. Yes, recognise that I'm black. I don't believe in all this colourless crap. I believe in recognising what people are and obviously acknowledging that we're all the same, but celebrating each other's differences. Obviously, I would love to be in a position, not because I am black, because I am the best at this job, because I am undeniably great at this. My skin colour and all these things might be a bonus to tick boxes. You could say there would be a benefit to that. You said younger and you said female. Again, I'm pretty sure females have been on the Arsenal board before and things like that. But a female might give another approach, and especially with our ladies team. Again, maybe a female there. I'm not saying the males don't have importance in that, but they might be able to dedicate time to putting that at another level, because obviously it kind of personally affects you. You have a personal, I don't know the word, but a personal sort of affiliation thing to it. I know you smart people that are good with English, and English teachers know the word I'm trying to say in it. So there's that, of course. Of course, maybe minorities will look at, minorities would be nice, because like I said, football does have a problem with diversity, not at ground level. It's as you go up the levels. Now, there obviously are black referees and stuff like that, but I can't name you. I know there is one, but I can't name you one, and I think that's a problem. And obviously the fans are diversified, the players are diversified. When you start getting into the coaching stuff, they are diversified, but the numbers start to become slim. And as you go up the levels, it does become the status quo of a middle-aged white guy. Forgive me for language and stuff. And don't get it twisted, if a middle-aged white guy's the best man for the job, he's the best man. But, there is issues. So, of course, there are benefits. But way before skin colour, sex and all of this stuff, I just want the best individuals. But we know at certain levels in life, it's not necessarily the most gifted individuals, the most talented, the most suitable for the role. It's who you know, it's not what you know. So again, it's a bonus if you can get some minorities or some women in there that reflect Arsenal. Because look at Arsenal, we've got a proud English national born fan base. We've got Greeks, we've got all sorts of Caribbeans, Jamaican, Bayesian, Trini, all sorts, Nigerian in Africa, Ghana, Kenya, everything is there. And it'd be nice if that whole mixture of fans, and like you see with our players, we've got Switzerland players and Swiss fans, we've got Albanian people who support Arsenal. It'd be lovely if, to a degree, all clubs, not just Arsenal, could reflect that. But that's a whole nother debate, people. That's a whole nother one. Good question to kick us off, and you've got the creative juices flowing. Like, normally it takes me a while to wake up to these questions. A bit like if you play football. If Q&As were a football game, I'd probably be okay. I wouldn't... The first 10 minutes would probably pass me by. I need a bit of, let's not say 10, that sounds a bit bad. Let's say 5. I need a bit of waking up. I need someone to try and nutmeg me or something. And I'm like, we've got a game here. But moving forward, love for your question, my guy. Another consistent one. Live from Planet X, this guy, man. Thank you very much for all your consistent support. to all my content and all your nice words across all my channels. But you're obviously in Australia, so God knows the time of making this video over there. I've got several clocks. Obviously in Sydney it's 1 in the morning, so you're probably baking off in your bed. But you have asked, do you think Arsenal should buy out a team in the lower leagues to loan and develop players to, or are logistics too complicated? Obviously there are rules around this sort of stuff and the monopoly stuff, and there are other rules around creating a monopoly. But you look at City, every week City are buying a new team in a new region. Obviously there's other reasons as to why they're doing that, but one thing is probably development. If we could get a partnership or own a club in a lower league, let's just say Charlton, and they play similar, I'm not saying they do, but they play similar football to us, and they give a platform for our young players to play, of course that's going to be beneficial. If we can do that where I've said it for different reasons in a video, if you could do that with somewhere like Holland, where you don't just want the players playing for the sake of it, but they're playing for a team with a similar way to that we play. Obviously they're playing in a first team environment, crucially as well. That also helps with work permits. So it could be, I don't think logistics would be complicated, but you could get a partnership, downright ownership of clubs, I'm not too sure. But saying that, there are obviously owners who have probably at a time held 2 English clubs. Like I'm sure there has been an owner that's either been a part of multiple clubs, but I'm not too sure on that, don't quote me on that. But what I do know is that there must, if Arsenal was to go and buy, I don't know, MK Dons tomorrow, or a team that's below them, there might be something said by authorities or whatever. Again, that could be wrong, but I do think a partnership can happen. Same owner of 2 clubs. I'm not too in the same sort of country. I don't know how it works, because I know Watford have got Udinese and things like that. So yeah, man, maybe not, if not necessarily lower leagues in England, definitely abroad and that. Yeah, Ferdinand de Jones has asked, what do you think of Atletico's Bilbao's style of recruiting players from strictly their region and not being as aggressive to get others in different geographical locations, even when the opportunity presents itself? My word, I almost struggle to say that. Obviously, do you know what? It's their values, isn't it? And you know, you've got to admire them how they stay true to their values, because God knows the amount of players they must have missed out from because they don't fit, you know, the logistics or the region that Bilbao come from. Obviously, you look at someone like Iñaki Williams. Isn't he the first? He has to be, definitely in my lifetime, I'm not too sure, but he must be the first black player to come through their academy and things like that. Some people might say it's radical and things like that, but if that's their tradition, that's their tradition, and you know, if that's their policy. And I think I'm trying to pick my language lightly, because especially with I'm not saying it's a far right thing, I'm not saying it's a racism thing, but we all know identity and all these things are taking a rise, so certain people can feel some sort of way. So I'm trying to be careful of how I structure this. But with football or football clubs, in my opinion, it's always been a business or a corporation. What I mean is, football clubs are less reflecting, I believe, fans, the honest man or woman who works hard. But for Bilbao, I don't know, there could be a man that's owned a chip shop near the stadium for 25 years, and you know, he might not have ever been a footballer, but Bilbao's all he's known. You know, I don't know what Bilbao looks like, but you know, from a young age he used to catch fish with his dad and sell them in the fish market and all these things in Bilbao. And at the weekend, when the money's there, they go and watch the games. So you know, obviously that's got sentimental value, but that gives man a sense of belonging, because I feel a sense of belonging at the Emirates. At a time in my life when I was, again, I'm being careful, I won't necessarily say depressed, but for want of better words, the Emirates was the only place I felt like nothing mattered. I've told you lot before, I used to get to the game an hour or so before the game started, when they let you in, just because. And obviously when you get in, it's not exactly silent, people are testing things, but that sort of solace, or whatever it's called, that silence kind of filled me with joy. So again, I get the emotional attachment to clubs. So if fans feel you know, part of it, then it's cool. Obviously there are more extreme than others, so again, you'd have to ask someone more clued up. But it's like Catalonia, you want people that are Catalan to play for the team. Did you get it? You want Barcelona at some level want to play that. Now clearly Barcelona are not that extreme, because obviously they got an Argentinian. Yes, he's lived in Spain for a number of years. They had an Argentinian and a Uruguayan. They've previously had a Brazilian that helped win the Champions League with them. Obviously you go and look at the great players that have played for Barcelona. There are some great Spanish internationals, but 9 times out of 10 there's going to be a Brazilian lad or there's going to be someone that's sick, people, from another nationality. You know, you've had a number of Dutch players, for instance, played there. So it's a difficult one, man. If they try to implement, could you imagine if they try to implement that in today's society, though? They'll be told, you know, you're racist, you're this, you're that, you're the other. So yeah, there's a lot of grey areas around that. But if it's tradition, it's tradition. And you know, I'd love scouts, or what. Scouts must have the easiest but the hardest job, because there's certain criteria they have to clip. And they probably, they could have missed out on a Lionel Messi just because he's not from Bilbao or whatever region it is. Good question. KB said, knowing that we haven't really got any money and our wage bill is very high, would you go in for Coutinho? Well, today you've seen that it's going to cost 10 million to get him on loan, and without speaking about his wages. So, 10 million is not the biggest of fees, but considering a club where, what could 10 million do for us in terms of wage resources? What could 10 million do for Arteta in that, that could be the difference between agreeing a fee for a player or not. If it's just based on the player, of course I would take Coutinho, and especially if we can't bring anyone, if we could get him on loan, I would explore that. But, when you consider the finances involved, my guy, it doesn't seem realistic. Jano has said, do you feel like more could have been done to save Bury FC? I think that's a question for people more clued up on the matter, but it is always sad when a team is in problems, and obviously first and foremost there's to look at how they got themselves in that mess, but there is more football can do to help everyone. I don't think it's anyone's prerogative necessarily to save anybody, because it's just not. You should be looking after your own balances and things like that. Like if it was a drinks industry, and again they're probably all owned by the same people, but imagine you've got Coke, you've got Pepsi. If Pepsi are going out into administration or going in financial issues, it would be nice morally for Coke to help them, but why should they? Do you get it? Not the best of examples when you consider Premier League and other things, but it is what it is. And Premier League clubs, obviously with the things that's going on worldwide, there are a bit more. There's a bit more caution for money, but they could all probably rustle together a couple quid to give to Bury, of course. But they're looking at is we're losing money every day. The Premier League's not here. Yes, it's been announced in recent hours that it's back, but you're not really our problem. You lot should have been looking after your own thing. It's a sad story, but it is what it is. So more can always be done. Thomas said, in a jokey fashion, Highland has failed to score in his last 2 matches and appeared to pick up an injury midway through the second half against Bayern. Is it time to accept that his career is over, in turn making Saka and Martinelli the joint recipients of the Golden Boy Award? Obviously, there's humour behind that. Obviously, Highland's career isn't injured. Obviously, he's still a quality player. Forget the Golden Boy, my don. Give them both the Ballon d'Ors in that, man. I hope that answers your question, my dude. Stay safe. Raz Memes, forgive me for mispronunciation. You have asked... Oh, I've clicked on your profile. What are your thoughts on Carlos Vela's small spell at Arsenal? Well, in hindsight, it was, I wouldn't say a flop, but it just underwhelmed, It weren't there. Probably not strong enough for the Premier League, not prepared to fight enough for the Premier League. In recent weeks, you've come out and you've probably seen Arsenal scouts speaking about, or ex-scouts speaking about his mentality, so he never had the mentality for it. I don't think he fancied it, and I don't think he really got an opportunity beyond the cup games, really. And obviously that loan spell at West Brom wasn't the best. At the time, I don't think he was mature enough to adjust to the physical demands of the Premier League or relish it, because, he's a young lad, obviously stayed in Spain for a couple of years, originally from Mexico. There's a lot of football. Majority of it is psychological, and I don't think he was right at the time, but I don't think he, was any wavy sort of player or anything, but yeah. Obasra said, who do you think Arsenal can realistically sign in the upcoming transfer window? Not a clue, my guy. That pet peeve, no disrespect to you. I don't really like transfer questions, but Shabozlai Sangare, I can't pronounce his name, but I'm talking about the midfielder from Toulouse, and likewise Shabozlai plays for Salzburg. We've been linked with Disasi in defence. He's 15 million. You'd imagine Arsenal have that. Joe has said, do you think Arsenal will keep Guendouzi and Torreira? I think so, but if 20 million came in for Guendouzi and 40 odd came in for Torreira, money talks, my guy. So, they might lose, their association with Arsenal might be ended there, my guy, if that answers your question. Let's head over to YouTube, and before I go to the communities tab, let's see if anybody's asked any questions. In my last week's edition, I bring out too many damn videos. Because he said something along the lines of... Shut up, man. Who is this YouTuber just chatting nonsense? Oh, it's me. Anyways, seeing if there's any questions here. Oh, Humour said, do you see Ainsley leaving the club in the near future? If so, will he get into any Premier League clubs outside of Arsenal, in your opinion? Probably he will leave. I hope he don't, but it does look like he's someone that's days at Arsenal are numbered, which is upsetting considering how Arteta spoken of him, even though it didn't work out for Emre, how Emre spoke of him, obviously signed a new deal not too long ago, and there is potential there to be a player for Arsenal, whether that's squad, first team regular, it's down to him. But it is what it is. I do think he can secure a Premier League move, maybe not necessarily to the top 6 team. He's been linked with City, I don't know if that's true. Who knows? If he was a right back, it's another debate. Or, I do think he's a Premier League player, and I do think he can get into a couple of Premier League clubs. So it's a decision for him and his agent, if true, to have a talk about. Really, is what it is. Right, off topic. Shout out to you, Rick. Love your videos and thoughts, man, and focus on your young players. It helps keep us distant, Schooners. I live in Devon, in the loop. Keep up the great work. I know that's not a question, but I didn't see this, man. Thank you very much, man. Big up, my guy. Thank you. Anyways, let's see if there's any other questions in this. Charlie said, where do I send you cues and suggestions? Thought I sent you a nice one on the last youngster interview. Apologies, Charlie, if I've missed you, but the community tab, I'll tell you lot. And like 30 odd people have commented something, so they're understanding what I'm saying. Pay attention to the community tab between Monday and Wednesday, and typically ask for your questions there, just because it's a nice way to store it. This man's so real. Love you, Gino. Homo. What's your Twitter handle? You're trying to get me in trouble with the hashtag one there, man. Especially in today's society. But Deluded Gooner 04. I keep saying 04. Zaka said, DG, where's the donation page? I should really have one now, innit? I keep seeing them comments quite a lot of times, man. Really, it's like, if you want that, I'll make that happen, man. I know I keep saying that, but I really will. I think that's it for any sort of potential questions there could have been last week. Moving forward, 39 questions, 38 because I saw someone comment too late. But someone has said, first question, what young players that we haven't seen yet do you see giving Arteta a selection problem? I don't know, my guy. It's up to the players. I don't know, but maybe Balogun, with what's happening, you'd imagine he could get his debut. Matt Smith's been playing decent at under 23s level. He could get an opportunity if he works hard. There's been many players. I really don't know. I think if he's already been seen, but Reece Nelson potentially could give a problem if he starts playing well. But I don't think any of the under 23s currently are quite ready for that. Like there's some that I'm not going to name them, but there's some I believe deserve to make their first team debuts, deserve to be in and around the first team. But in relation to if you're meaning get to Martinelli, Saka level right now, I think there's a long way to go for a couple of them. As much as I like them, so I don't think there quite is one right now. But this can all change in 18 months. 18 months ago, so I know Saka was part of the team, obviously, but he weren't to this level, was he? Or he was about in that he was playing for Arsenal. But you get the point. Sarah said, there's so many football-based questions. What do you do in your free time? In brackets, hobbies and stuff. Good question, man. Play football. Watch football if that's... I know you said not away from football. Read a lot. Actually read a lot. Like to watch a lot of stuff about recessions and old recessions and investing and mindset and looking after money and all of these sort of things and stuff like that. I like to watch The Breakfast Club and stuff like that. I like all that sort of stuff. Breakfast Club. All the trash sort of... Not Breakfast Club, not trash, but all the trash sort of stuff. I don't mind watching that in my downtime. Trying to learn new skills a lot. Always trying to learn about something. I like to read about technology and stuff. I like emerging markets and what's going on and how, countries are shifting. Like Singapore, I've grown up, forgive me if I'm wrong, but Singapore wasn't what Singapore is now a couple of years ago. I've seen that change, so that sort of stuff excites me. That's always excited me from a little kid, so I've always trying to been going down them inclinations, but not much if it's not out of football. I'd say, injustices. I don't want to speak about America. RIP to another sad black male that lost his life at the hands of the police unnecessarily. But I like to, I'll never run away from injustice. I like to be in the loop about things like that. I like to cook. I can't bake, but I like to be involved in baking. Football Manager FIFA, you know, TV shows, box sets and that. It's not too much to do. Beyond that, really, I barely get time to do that. But that's it, my guy, really. Pardon me. Not no hidden skill, no, you know, you're never going to see me say Deluded does knitting and that. If I could, I would have made some Arsenal-themed handscarves, face masks and made some peas, but hey, almost said, hey DG, hope you and your family are well. You the same, my guys are good. Hope the same can be said for yours. You said, would you necessarily say that the sentiment is one of the reasons we are where we are now? I don't know. Are you talking in relation to Arsenal? I'm not too sure, my guy, man. I don't know, my guy. I can't answer that question. I'm not too sure. I don't understand the question. I'm not clued up on that, my guy. Apologies. William, that sounded bad. William has said, that sounded biggie. But I'm glad you're well in these perilous times. Hopefully that's the word. Would you consider swapping Saka and 20 million for Dembele from Barcelona? I know you rate him, and I think a front three of Aubameyang, Pepe, and obviously Dembele could be lethal. No. I mean, in theory it makes perfect sense, but I want to keep Saka, man. No, I wouldn't. You said also, seeing as how the Xhaka experiment hasn't worked out, still not quite sure what he excels at. What do you think about getting rid and replacing him with Sandro Tonali? It seems like he could do everything we wanted Xhaka to be, and a double pivot of him and Partey would be solid. Tonali's a great player with a fantastic future ahead of himself. I would love him. I'm pretty sure his team's been relegated now. I could be wrong on that, but forgive me if I am. But if they have, that almost pushes the case. But you see him linked with big clubs, man. You see him linked with Man City, with Pep Guardiola. You see him linked with Bayern Munich. You see him linked with PSG. You see him actually linked with Barcelona. Arsenal can give him that opportunity to, you know, play, develop for a couple of years, and if them man still want you, go and do your thing. But, you know, you'd imagine we're out of it. And to be fair to Xhaka, I do share some of the thoughts about Xhaka being underwhelming, Xhaka being frustrating and all these things, but I don't think he's been as poor. I'm not saying you're saying this, but fans do this agenda thing too much. I think if you look at Xhaka, he's not... One thing that went against him is he weren't what we needed in a sense of... clearly, you know, we'll get onto it, but he's not the Kante and these things, and some people might have expected that. I do think he's not been that. I do think he's a bit of every player has a system they excel in, but I think Xhaka is what I'd call a systems player. He thrives when there's a real system. I do think Xhaka is misunderstood. I don't think what he does is mad amazing, but I do see why every manager that's been at Arsenal since he's been here has played him in that sixth position. I think he's decent on the ball. I like his attitude and things like that. I know he's been getting in trouble and stuff. You know, obviously yellow cards, fouls, errors leading to goals are all things he's improved, but all things that are going to follow him. So I don't think Xhaka's been as bad as people make out, really. I'm not saying you're saying it. Really, if Xhaka was sold for a suitable fee and we can use that to bring in Partey or whatever, then that's a different debate. But yeah, I'll be trying to go... You'd imagine we could go for Tonali outright, even if we have to pay for 20 years. Yeah. And there's a lot more players, if I'm honest, that have to leave before Xhaka, if I'm completely honest, regardless of my personal opinions on him. Faris has said, based on ability, who would you rather have, Ryan Sessegnon or Max Aarons? One's a left back winger thing, even seen him play behind the striker in Sessegnon. One's a right back, but I would say Max Aarons. Mr. Adlib23 has said, if you could bring back one midfielder back to play in this current team, who would it be out of Santi Cazorla and Cesc Fabregas? Ooh, both, man, both. I think, you know, I think if Santi was here, I do think there's a case to play Santi and Xhaka. I think that would be a good partnership, similar to what not the same, but similar to the angle Arteta's going on with playing Ceballos and Xhaka. But I'm not going to lie, if it was me, I'd probably take Xhaka out of the side. He'd have to fight Santi for that place, and then I'd bring in a Partey or whatever. Cesc and Xhaka, it could work. You know, if you have Torreira, Xhaka and Cesc, you would probably rely on... I know Xhaka's playing better defensively in this structure, probably asking too much of Torreira. Clearly, because Santi is a baller, Cesc is a baller. I'll go Cesc, but you know what, I'll go Santi now. In their prime, it's even tough. Prime Cesc, I'll say Prime Cesc Fabregas. Prime Cesc Fabregas, out of push. It's a tie, but I'll go with Cess, man. That's a good question. That's a very good question. Love for that. Kieran has said, if Lacazette leaves, would you give Eddie the number 9? Because Arteta clearly has faith in him and starts him over Laca sometimes. Not yet. I wouldn't give him the shirt yet because it's still developing. Again, obviously you're a striker. You want to be number 9. I think he'll relish it. But if he's going to get the number 9, that means numbers don't mean anything. But that means Nketiah has to be a starter. Do I think he's got 20 league goals in him right now? He can develop to be that, hopefully, but I don't think he is. So I think that's a lot of pressure. I'd be more inclined to believe the 9 shirt would stay vacant and it's either given to Aubameyang or we bring in another man, or even Martinelli gets that if he's going to be a striker, even though I think he should be given a number 7 next year, if not Reece Nelson or Pepe. But if Lacazette did leave, I'd give Eddie and Nketiah a chance. But if you're asking me about bringing nobody in and just had to look at, I know it's hard, but just looking at what we have in the side, if Lacazette left or Aubameyang left, then Martinelli's the next one that plays up front for me. For me, Martinelli's we need to make him able, because the best players can. Ronaldo could play on the left, play on the right, through the middle. Clearly, there was one role where he excelled even more, maybe even preferred more. But I think Martinelli's got that. I don't really like when there's top players and they're like, oh, I can't play on the right. Which is true, and I want him to be an out-and-out striker, but I also want him to develop on the left. But I'm rambling about irrelevant things. Martinelli would be the guy for me. If no other striker is brought in, Martinelli's the guy for me. I'm trying to make that striker and develop. Eddie would still get game time, but it would be Martinelli for me personally. Cameron Brooks again has said, is Amari Hutchinson Arsenal's new wonder kid and how good can he become? I never like the term wonder kid because it sets people up for failure. What I do think is a lovely footballer who's stronger than his stature suggests. He's got a wonderful attitude. He's got a wonderful family with a good upbringing, so he's very humble. Lovely range of passing, can play in a couple of roles. You know, how good he wants to be is down to him. Hopefully, he stays clear of injuries. You know, if he works hard, the world's his oyster, like it is everybody. I don't know for how good a man can become, and I'm not too keen on these wonder kid tags anywhere, people. There are actually some players within the team I privately call wonder kid, and think there's a certain midfielder I really would be shocked if he doesn't make it at this team, really and truly, despite his young ages. But I don't like the wonder kid terms and things, because it's just unnecessary. Not saying you mean anything by it. You must have heard me say it's a pet peeve. Nonetheless, love for your question, and hopefully I've answered it. Samuel has said, do you think referees weren't calling fouls for Pepe on purpose? I don't necessarily think so. Pepe probably has to adjust to the league. Obviously, at times Pepe has been fouled, but a lot of them skillmen, I don't think people that do skills in the Prem, I don't necessarily think they're protected. And sometimes their reputation goes against him. Like, look at Wilfred Zaha. People, hella times he's hacked down, and if it's other players, it's a foul. If not, is what it is. You've also asked, what would you do if when play returns, Laca is in better form than Aubameyang heading into the transfer window? Well, if he's in better form, then I don't think much changes, because I still remember Aubameyang's a gunman in front of goal and has been. Still know Lacazette's got qualities. While he might not be that 20 league goal season striker, he's got qualities. Don't think it changes too much because of contracts. It don't matter. The form is irrelevant now. It's like, the man want to stay here or man want to go. We need to make a decision. So that would be it for me. Papyrus said, what's good, DG? I hope you're well and safe. Do you think with the way football's evolving, we'll see more centre-halves under 6 foot tall? Well, yeah, really. Yeah, I guess so. I don't think height's really a requirement of such. What I mean by that is clearly height's a requirement. Look at Van Dijk. But I do think it's a very English thing to just look at exclusively centre-halves have to have height. You look at Spain, you look at Italy with Cannavaro, you look at elsewhere, Argentina even. Height obviously is an advantage, obviously is important, but it's more of your outlook. And I do think it's a cultural thing. It's how obviously with the influx of certain managers and football evolving, playing out from the back is all the range. But I think a lot of other teams have been doing that. Have been doing that already. So maybe the requirements have been slightly different. And I think it's a cultural thing. So if for what you've asked me at base level, yeah, you probably would see. But it is what it is. Jesus said, my question is, how does Arteta strike the balance to get more out of our potent attack? We've only scored more than once 3 times. I feel he has made our defence better. At the same time, our attack has suffered. Well, our defence, there's no point being able to attack if we can't defend. So I actually like the fact defence is there, but I share what you mean. And I think a lot of these problems aren't going to go overnight, and it's a mixture of personnel. And this is what I said in a previous video, and I'm like, regardless what you think of Ceballos, Pepe and David Luiz, respective to their positions, they all carry the trait of their bravery. Pepe can be frustrating, but he wants to take a man on. That's bravery. Luis has a mistake in him, but he'll try a pass. Ceballos at times can play with your heart rate when he does some dodgy passes, but they're bravery. I think we need players that are competent here and consistent, but we also need players that are confident to try and execute successfully, dribbling past man, 30-yard passes, shooting from range, all of these things. People, do you get it? People need to be brave for that and have the confidence, because 9 times out of 10 it's not going to work, and you're going to get jeers from fans, you're going to get jeers from fans, you're going to get a bollocking and the rest of it. You need the bravery to keep going on. So I do think there's a lot wrong with our team. I think that, you know, Arteta's changed it. I don't think we've necessarily looked to pass forward quickly and with intent. Really, I don't think collectively there's a lack of movement. Collectively there's a lack of people that want to come onto the ball, you know, in the lines and stuff like that. And the ones that do haven't got the ability to pick things out. Personally, I don't feel we have enough goals in midfield. Again, I don't want to go as far to say I do think there was, and it doesn't make sense because there was obviously more goal scoring midfielders around now, but I'm sure most teams had more goals in specifically their central midfield back in their days, people. I'm sure Lampard's probably the best example. I'm not saying we need to get that, but I don't feel there's enough goals or goal scoring situations coming from our midfield. Torreira, that's not his skill set. Xhaka, he'll score a couple bangers once in a lifetime, but that's not his skill set. Guendouzi, still developing. That's not his skill set. Joe Willock, probably the most box to box and that sort of guy, the most similar to Aaron Ramsey in the team. He's still developing. So I do think we struggle from that. We obviously struggle from a lack of real, genuine creativity in the midfield. So again, it's down to us to work in terms of phases of play and stuff like that. Confidence and bringing in players. I think it's a mixture of things right now, my guy, and really and truly, it's a mixture of things, and I definitely agree with what you're saying, people, and my dude. And yeah, man, want to see us actually turn teams over away from home, but there's many things that has to go into that. Really, love for your question though. Faris has said, if you had to choose between Cantwell and Buendia to bring to Arsenal, who would you choose if Norwich get relegated? Well, Buendia is a good player, but I really like Cantwell, so I'd say Cantwell. DS Boss has said, do you think Arsenal would benefit from playing behind closed doors? Because for me, one of the main reasons we've been poor away from home is the intensity of the away fans. And I agree with that, but I do think, you know, if you can't shut up fans from outside, then you've got a serious problem. I also think we struggle with the way teams set up. And again, what I said in the other question in this video, bravery to try that pass, bravery to go against the grain when things aren't going, pardon me, well. Well, to be fair, the Emirates isn't, you know, I don't think it will have much of a thing, because the Emirates isn't exactly noisy, so it'd probably be same old, you know. If we could start the season again and go off this, Arsenal might win the league then, people, my guy. But banter aside, I don't really think it has a bearing. What's most importantly is what we're doing on the football field, really. William Baker said, big up yourself, DG. Other than your email and your social media, what's the first website you check when when you access a computer in the morning? FX Street, Bloomberg, investing.com, BBC News. Them, you know, I want to see what's going on in the world. I want to see what's going on in the financial markets. I want to see what the bankers are doing. I want to see what the politicians are saying. And then obviously when life is done, like you said, the emails and the social media. With my first point of call for football, I pay for it, so The Athletic, Sky Sports, BBC's, and then I'm on Twitter like you lot, really and truly. So that would be it, my dude. Yannick has said, do you think Rob Holding should stay? Yes, but I understand if he's sold for a profit, and I also understand if a decision is made for him to go out on loan and play regular football. Yeah. Tracy has said, thank you very much for your question, Tracy. You always make me laugh with some of your comments, but you've said, greetings. How best do you feel clubs can help youth players develop their mental game? Good question. I actually think a lot is down to the individual, really and truly. It's down to an individual to get their mindset. I look at how my outlook used to be on life and many subjects now. I'm embarrassed to look back at now, but that's through me strengthening my mind and stuff like that. I'd like to think from my first YouTube videos to now there's slightly more professionalism, there's a slightly different way of how I carry myself, and there's ultimately an improvement. That's down to me. Half of it has to be down to them, but I think the earlier you can, within reason. I'm not saying if I don't really like when a 15-year-old is one of the best players of his age group. He's clearly going to go off to play for England, but he's already the next wonder kid and all this unhealthy stuff. I think there should be more workshops on clouding out noise, good and bad, recognizing that people are just going to say nasty comments and you're not really going to understand it. I'd say that, but I don't think much can, beyond that sort of stuff. I don't think much can prepare you because. Yeah, but I don't think how does a team obviously playing and being I think obviously if for instance logically, I think one problem is you can see players get psyched up. They're on the pitch and like, oh shit, I'm at the Emirates. There's how much thousands of people here. Obviously they're nervous. You can get over that. Logically speaking, at under 23s level, if there was more demand for it and we're playing in decent sized stadiums and there's 20-30,000 people there, it might not have much of a bearing. But how do you prepare for that? When you step on the field, you should be able to air that. So I don't think there is much beyond general mental health workshops they probably have got in place and stuff, and dealing with typical scenarios that come as a footballer. I would say with the new age of footballers, teach them social media, teach them, make a private social media, teach them thought-provoking things. I'm sure you've seen several footballers get backlash of things they've... Obviously, if you get pulled up on stuff in the past, that's one thing, but posts they've put out recently, like Bernardo Silva, at some point, whether he's joking with Mendy or not, a debate happened. If you don't put that out there in the public domain, it doesn't happen. So maybe thinking as you're going ahead, maybe this isn't a good idea. This isn't a good idea. This isn't a good idea. I'd say mainly around social media, ignoring it as well, protecting your mental health. Like I wouldn't even check if I was a footballer. I wouldn't check my social media. Honest to God, you'd have to get someone else to do it because it's just. It's not that I would look at the praise. Obviously, I get gassed off the praise and then rein it in. Negative comments. There are obviously some negative comments that have logic behind it, and then you've got, Troy Deeney the other day. He's talking about, he stood up and gave his opinion, and and gave one of the reasons as to why he doesn't want to go back to training at the time because of Corona and his young kid. People out there, God forbid, wishing these sort of things on his young child. How does someone prepare you for that, people? You can't be prepared. I've seen these dirty comments on my YouTube comments and stuff, and nothing prepares you for it. It is a shock. So I'd say the more things that can be done about moving sensible on social media, not putting out posts that could spark debate, and obviously the trolling comments, being able to air it and not deal with it and allow it to affect you because that's what they're doing. I'd say that, I'd say that really, Tracy. Smile Pleaser said, what do you think of Dirishan of Hertha Berlin? He's decent. He used to be at City, like many players. He left City to evolve as a footballer. I think he's decent. I don't know who that is. You need to stop calling me. I think he's decent, and I think his end product can improve, sort of thing. He's a very decent player. Who is that, man? Stop calling the phone, man. What's going on? I don't know you. Apologies, people. That's probably one of them junk numbers in that. So yeah, man, sorry for that, Smile Please. That's what I believe. Nizza said, sup DG, would you say that the reason Arsenal have faltered in the last decade is because of the personnel we bring in? In other words, people who we bring in are not good enough for us but with the wrong mentality. Yeah, clearly, I do think we brought in a lot of people who have coasted and just not trying to, maybe I'm not saying now, but historically not trying to push themselves. Obviously with Wenger and everything that was going on with Wenger and Glazides and Kroenkes, there was too many pillars to hide behind for players, and there was too many. I think there was too many pillars to hide behind, whether it was management, owner, structure, and I do think certain players hid behind others. And it goes back to the other question. I do think players lacked confidence. I do think players had a defeative mindset. Obviously, if you go back to when it was more exaggerated that we were just on this money thing, we're just trying to get top four. Defeative mindset. Look at Sagner's comments the other day saying, "Oh, we believe Chelsea were twice the team we were." Yeah, bruv. If a team, listen, if I was a Sunday League team right now and we play Barcelona right now in their prime, but the best Barcelona side any of you can think of, yeah, and me and whoever's listening to this, we're all playing for this team. We'll probably change our thinking and still get beaten up. They will beat us up. They'll probably win 100-0. And I'm not saying not recognise that. Listen, there's a fine line between arrogance and keep in check. But you can't believe them and they are better than you. You can't start gassing and breading them and stuff. Because I've been in Sunday League games like that where I've had to stop myself. I'm like, nah, this guy's a good player. This team is better than us. And I'm like, oh no, fuck that. It's 22 men on a football field. We're trying to put the ball in our thing. F them. You can't go into that mindset. So obviously, yeah. That's why I don't even. Obviously, we have had some lightweight players. I don't think it's about height and all these things. It's about desire and fight. And I don't think too many men have been on that sort of stuff historically in the last couple of years at Arsenal. So I'd probably say that. Mr. Adlib has said, do you think that Arsenal fans have been a bit harsh on Kroenke? The reason I've said this is because of FFP regulations will make it difficult to invest his own money spent into the club. It is true, and again, not everything is Kroenke's fault, but it's the underlying thing. It's the intent, you know. I think fans are, you know, just to answer that in short, I think fans are justified in their criticism. Not always blame him, but it is what it is. Grass J Hopper has said, would you sell Lacazette in order to fund Partey? Yeah, if we had to. As much as I like Lacazette, I'd entertain the conversation. HG Med9 has said, DG, 2 questions, mate. Is Pogba the biggest name in the PL? And is Wan-Bissaka better than a prime Gary Neville? I don't think right now, today, in early May 2020, I don't think Wan-Bissaka is better than Gary Neville in his prime right now, but he probably will be in the near to distant future. Pogba is probably the biggest name in the Premier League, to be fair with you, or one of them. Anthony John Cyrus has said, if you were Arteta / Per Mertesacker, which academy players would you give first team opportunities for next season? Now, the opportunities thing is subjective. If you're talking about ones that haven't been exposed into the first team yet, depending on what we want to do with the likes of Tyrese John-Jules, I think his form has warranted a look in. Balogun, I think Ben Cottrell, I think Matt Smith deserves a debut. Zach Swanson deserves to at least play in a cup competition based on how he's been playing at right back. Long term, I'll be looking to bring in the likes of Charlie Patino into the first team. Without a doubt, that would be one of the first instructions for me as a football man, because I do think Charlie, even though he's 16, by the time he's 18, I'd be shocked if he isn't on the cusp of the first team. So I'd probably say that, to be fair with you, beyond excluding the ones that obviously aren't already in and around the team, the Emils, the Nelsons, etc. Philip has said, what is your favourite video game, if any, and do you think Socrates' future will be at Arsenal? Well, I can see him running down his deal, but I do think he's Socrates, that will be moved on. Equally, I do, what's my favourite video game? I'd probably say Pro Evo. Not now, but Pro 6, Pro 4, like that. Pro 3 was good. GTA, San Andreas up there as well. Probably them. Gibbs has said, do you think Suarez can take up Bellerin's position and make the right back his position? It's up to him if he's fit. I don't know. I haven't seen him play. It's down to him. If he's fit and he gets the opportunity, it's down to him to take it, my dude. And you also said, do you think if we have a progressive right back, it will benefit Pepe more next season? I think what will benefit Pepe is that we have someone that's consistently there. 1 minute it's Mustafi, then it's Socrates. Obviously, circumstances forced our hands. 1 minute it's Maitland, then it's Bellerin. On top of question marks Pepe has to answer himself and improvement he has to make, there's been no relationship being built. People underestimate keeping the squad together in general, and also building relationships. Why do you think we look so much better down the left and have looked it? Whether it's Kolasinac, Saka there, Tierney there, Aubameyang and Saka, Martinelli and Saka, Tierney and whoever, there's some continuity there, if that's the right word. So yeah. Yeah, man, I think that will help, man. You need to build up a relationship down that side. Farhan has said, moving on, what did you learn from lockdown, DG? That we're all human, that we're all running our own race, and what I actually do and don't like, really and truly, in my life. Jack has said, and I think this is in relation to my academy football interviews, what are you learning from doing these interviews? How every player is different, how some footballers take forever, how footballers can waste time, how you've kind of got to prod stuff, and how everybody's journey is different, how misunderstood footballers are, how little they actually get to speak. I'd probably say that. Kieran's also said, how good do you see Adil Eshushe becoming under the right management? It's down to him, but I think he can be a top player. Ryan has said, top 3 favourite TV series, Breaking Bad. I've watched so many. The Wire, Breaking Bad. The Wire, Breaking Bad. Wire, Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones until the ending, I'd say. I feel like I'm missing some. I'll go with them. No, I want to answer your question, but you've asked that an hour ago and I've made a comment. So the last 2 questions, I believe. Faris has said, with Arsenal restricted to free transfers, do you think they might try and sign Mangala Sarr? Seems a bargain. Who knows, my guy? He's probably on a short list based on there's other profile of players they've been looking at. Grandad Trotter has said, would you rather be a decent manager or a quality pundit? A decent manager. I mean, what would, if I had my choice, it'd be a scout or a coach. And you know, what is a quality pundit really? Whoever's gonna give me the most cash. But if it wasn't based on money, I'd say manager, man. Imagine, obviously, you know, I'll probably be bold already, and I'd probably be stressed out. But what is better than leading your own team out on a match day, implementing tactics and all of these sort of things? It's nothing's better than that, really. So I'd say that, really. I'd say decent manager. On that note, though, I think I've answered all the questions that have been asked in the deadline. On that note, people, it's always a pleasure. But, you know, the grind doesn't stop. Make sure you check out all my other content. Make sure you comment below in this video if you've got any questions off the back of this video. Make sure you're paying attention during the week to, obviously, when I ask you lot to ask me Q&A questions via the discussion tab. Most importantly, stay safe. On that note, make sure you like and subscribe and the rest of it and share it up. People, DG, I'm out. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, folk.